Hey everybody. So I got an email a couple of weeks ago asking me about my views on Microsoft Windows versus Linux and if there were any circumstances where I might recommend Windows over Linux. And most people who know me at all or who've watched my videos know that I'm a pretty strong open source advocate and I'm a pretty strong Linux advocate and fan. In fact, I use mostly Linux at home and in my company. And so, it's a little uncomfortable for me to discuss using Microsoft Windows for really anything. That said, there was a time when I was a Microsoft partner, and we sold well over 15 or $20 million worth of Microsoft software a year. And I kind of dumped that and went to an all open source ecosystem, and we now develop software for Linux and solutions around Linux and open source software. So I've been on both sides of the fence on the issue. And I can say that there are certain circumstances where I definitely would recommend Windows over Linux. And I know that's going to piss some of the Linux people off. That's fine. And my reasons for it are probably going to piss some of the Windows people off, and that's fine too. So let's look at some of those. First of all, I think that Linux is a very it's not a newbie friendly operating system. If you're setting up an IT infrastructure and your IT people are either not that skilled or you don't have a lot of them, Linux may not be the answer for you, or you don't have full-time IT people, not even a lot of them, because running Linux doesn't take a lot of people. But if you just don't have, let's say, full-time IT people, you're a small company, you're just getting started, you don't have full-time IT people. Maybe you're the owner and you're doing all the IT work. Linux may not be the best solution for you, especially if you don't come from a Linux world. I mean, if you come from a Unix, a BSD, a Linux world, obviously Linux is going to be the choice for you. But if you come from a Windows world, Windows Server might be the choice for you connected to Windows desktops. So definitely for people who don't have full-time IT people, people who don't have very skilled IT people, people who don't want a lot of customization, the power to customize a lot, Windows would definitely be a no-brainer for those people. The second reason why I could see using Windows instead of Linux is software choice. Linux has a lot of software. All of it or most of it's free. A lot of it is crap, though, and I think that's something that in the Linux community we try to deny a lot, but it's true. A lot of it is crap. There's a lot of software that I download on my Linux box that just didn't work, and I spend days sometimes tinkering with it. And I know people have said in the past that, oh, well, the same's true of Windows. And, let's be honest, it's not, okay? Generally, if you download a piece of software or if you purchase a piece of software for Windows, as long as it matches the minimum Windows requirement, it's going to work. In fact, I've been a Windows user since Windows 3.1. And I can tell you that I have never actually run into a piece of professional software that didn't work on Windows, that simply didn't work, that I bought or downloaded and it refused to work. Never run into it even once. And I have run into that a lot on Linux. And it's for me, it's worth actually getting in and fixing it and finding the problem and figuring out what's wrong. But if you're, again, a one-guy IT shop, maybe you're the owner of a small company, don't have very skilled IT people, maybe don't have a lot of time, that's going to matter to you, and that's going to be a big issue. The other thing is just if you're more comfortable with the wizard-based way of setting things up. With Linux, let's face it, you have to do a lot of command line configuration. With Windows, not so much. I mean, I can't think of very many times when you have to drop to the Windows command line to get something accomplished. Generally, it's all wizard-based. You point, click, configure, enter information, and you're good to go. And so again, and I guess that goes to the time-saving factor. If you don't have a lot of time, and you don't have a skilled IT staff, or Linux is just not your world, definitely, that's something you need to consider. If you're not comfortable with the command line and you're not comfortable with anything but the graphical user interface, then Windows is definitely the way to go. Hardware compatibility, of course, Linux is getting a lot better at that, but it still isn't to the point where Windows is. 99% of the time, I buy a piece of hardware, I plug it in, Windows recognizes it. If it doesn't, chances are there's a driver for it that I can download or came in the box or something like that. Linux, it's still kind of hit or miss. I mean, it'll recognize most hardware. Some hardware it doesn't, and let's face it, some hardware there's just not any drivers for it. And so those are the scenarios where I'd recommend Windows over Linux. They're not very much. They definitely don't cover a lot of scenarios, but Windows does have its place. As much as we in the Linux and open source world would like to pretend like Windows is useless, it's horrible, Windows isn't. It's gotten a lot better over the years. Microsoft has made some phenomenal strides with the operating system, and they're going to continue to do that in the future. So we really don't have a lot of the old tired excuses like security and the lack of support and DLL hell and upgrade hell and all that. We really don't have those excuses anymore. Those are pretty much things that Microsoft has fixed. And so if you meet those three criteria that we just discussed, Windows is probably for you. But if not, I would still say, Linux is a good, solid solution. It's probably the better solution for more technically savvy users. But Windows does have its place. The fourth thing may be if you're in a homogeneous environment where it's pretty much all Windows, you're probably not going to drop a Linux box in there and make it work very well. It's harder to integrate within a homogeneous network than it would be if it were mixed. So, So I hope that answers your question. I can't remember the user who sent me an email asking about it, but I hope that answers your question. Give me feedback in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. Tell me what I forgot. Whatever you want to say. I look forward to it. Thanks a lot, and talk soon.